Before being reborn, my sister was stabbed to death. This time I want to watch her poison the young plum of the tycoon, waiting for the protagonist to avenge me. My sister, Yvonne Jones, tried to murder the childhood friend of a rich heir in order to seduce him. Yvonne poisoned the woman's drink and pulled out her oxygen tube after she was sent to the hospital. When the rich heir arrived in a rush, Yvonne cried in his arms daintily. I am so sorry. This is all my fault. I failed to protect her. I witnessed everything in the ward but didn't say a word about it. In my previous lifetime, I stopped Yvonne from poisoning the woman. I knew the rich heir would never let her get away with it if he found out about it. Yvonne was forced to give up her plan and even praised me for my foresight. However, she ended up poisoning me instead and stabbed me in the heart with her dagger when I got dizzy. This is your fault. Die. If you hadn't stopped me, then Graham would have been mine. When I opened my eyes next, I had returned to the day of the poisoning. A woman was being resuscitated inside a patient's ward. My older sister, Yvonne Jones, was crying hysterically as she begged a doctor to save the woman. I was the only one who was aware that Yvonne was the real murderer. Yvonne was kneeling on the ground as she begged the doctor who was trying to save the woman. I am begging both of you to save her. Winona is my best friend. Everyone inside the ward was touched by their friendship and tried to comfort her. Don't worry, she'll be fine. Yvonne's face was covered with tears of gratitude, but the moment she turned away from them, she rolled her eyes. She did not care if Winona Evans would live or die. Yvonne and Winona were friends from university. On the first day of class, Yvonne found herself falling for Winona's childhood friend, the rich socialite called Sean Graham. However, no matter how hard Yvonne tried to seduce him, Sean only had eyes for Winona and refused to give Yvonne a second glance. Yvonne was filled with jealousy. She asked Winona out for a drink one night and poisoned her glass. After the doctor resuscitated Winona, he reminded Yvonne, the patient is still in critical condition right now. You can contact us if anything happens to her. Yvonne nodded, but when the doctor walked out the door, she immediately removed the oxygen tube from Winona. She crossed her arms and sneered at Winona. Let's see how you take Sen away from me this time. You can stop flaunting about knowing Sen longer than me. Once you are dead, I am the one who will stay by Sen's side. She turned away, only to see me standing at the corner of the ward. If you dare say a word about this, I'll tear you apart. She was nasty with her words and looked quite sinister. I nodded right away. Don't worry, Yvonne, I didn't see anything. She seemed happy with my timid reaction and nodded. Once Peen becomes your brother-in-law, you can have anything you want. I glanced at her carefully. Thanks, Yvonne, I just want an ordinary job after graduation. Yvonne glared at me. You are a useless thing who can never amount to anything. You won't be able to accomplish anything even if I give you a chance. You are destined to achieve nothing in life. She sat down on a chair next to the patient's bed. Your face does nothing but anger me. Get me a glass of water. I nodded right away and left the ward. That was when I bumped into San in front of the elevator. He was frowning. How did Winona get poisoned? Look into this right away. Find out who she came in contact with at the bar. The man next to him nodded right away. Yes, Mr. Graham, I'll check the surveillance footage right now. At this point, I smiled happily. I stopped Yvonne in my last life, but she ended up making sure I died a horrible death. This time I wanted to see how Shuquent would torture her to death. I returned to the ward with a glass of water in my hand. Ayur was standing in front of the bed with a frown as he looked at Winona lying in bed. Yvonne was sobbing quietly, acting like she was extremely upset. This is all my fault. I should have taken better care of Winona. If you have to blame someone, Bryn, blame me. She stood in front of Zen with a broken-hearted look on her face. Zine turned away from Winona to look at Yvonne. What did the doctor say? He said she was poisoned and is still in critical condition. Yvonne threw herself into Sean's arms. Blame me if you must, Ben. This is all my fault. Ian was taken aback but did not push her away immediately. He said, this was out of your control. Don't cry. You don't have to worry. I'll get the best doctors to save Winona. Yvonne smiled victoriously when Sten did not push her away. She wiped away her tears. I won't bother both of you any longer. I'll be leaving first. Just call me if you need anything. Yvonne left the ward with me after that.